the place is all right. It's just that I made a mistake. Okay, the streaming is on, and we'll put this on as well. And we'll do the last one to make this a bit more visible, like this. Well, good afternoon. My name is Aki Mikkola, and I'm coming from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. And I'm in a really good mood today, and I can tell you why. Because just a few minutes before I entered this place, I got the email that one of our proposals was accepted. So it feels great. It feels great. Problem is that you get older, this feeling gets stronger and stronger and stronger. But I'm still in this good mood, and I really hope that the mood will continue when I'm stepping off in this lecture. We'll see that. So as I'm in a good mood, hopefully we can have this as a kind of like interactive way to deliver the lecture. And if my prediction goes correctly, we don't communicate because that's what exactly what happens with my students. And we already developed the means of communication. The means of communication is yes, no, confused. So this is it. Clear? Good. So is yes. All right. So what I would like to speak today is related to digital twin. And really what I wanted to do is that I wanted to speak about one technology associated to digital twin. The technology is a real-time multi-body approach. The multi-body approach is a very technical approach. I wanted to share some views and some ideas how is that you can use a real-time multi-body approach in the framework of digital twin. And there are entire lectures and entire courses about multi-body simulation and real-time simulation. So as you guys are from industrial engineering, it's kind of my understanding that you don't want to go too deep into mathematics. Oh yes? Okay, now is again your time to communicate. So okay, so no, so I take it as a no. Okay, and that's how I constructed my slides today. No equations, because if you really wanted to step into equations, it's going to be painful. It hurts like no limit, because the mathematics is very involved. It's somewhat difficult. But if you later, if you become interested, and if you really wanted to learn how is that theory behind, there is a entire lecture series that you can follow through the YouTube. That's the channel that I mentioned. I got almost 100 subscribers, almost, missing just few. So it's somewhat popular. Okay, so that's my topic today, and feel free to interrupt me whatever you feel to do. So just raise your hand and do like intensively this, so then I will stop my talk and ask. Okay, so this is my outline of my presentation. So I want to spend quite a bit of time to explaining about the background. And a few ideas, how is that we understand digital twin, and how is that we understand the real-time multi-body approach. And then kind of like the main body of today's lecture is related to the second item, which is product processes examples. Some of them are concrete examples that are actually happening today. Some of them are more like visions, which is maybe possible in the future. Why it's not happening today is mainly related to technical difficulties. But we strongly believe that those technical difficulties can be solved, and sometimes in the future we can have digital twin running in a bit different way that they are used at the moment. And then a few conclusions. So only 3 items. And out of the 3 items, only one that is good to remember, and that's the middle one, the product processes examples. And I want to get started from explaining a little bit of background. Why is that? First of all, why is that I'm here? Person from mechanical engineering explaining something to you from student from industrial engineering. Well, this is all related to SIN platform. And this university have a total of 6 different platforms. And these are the kind of like research consortiums that are made in order to encourage the internal cooperation within the university. And all these started uh, 4 years ago. 4 years back, we got new president, new rector before the current one. And what usual scenario is that first you get the new rector, then comes new organization. And this was business as usual. So we first got the new rector, and then came a new organization. Now, this time the organization was built a bit different way than usually, because the rector wanted to build something that is combining different faculties together. And this combining aspect was research platforms. And she organized open call, asking researchers to make their proposals. And that's what we did. And we submitted a proposal and it was accepted. And that's what we are working at the moment. And initially it was made such the way that there were teams from 2 different schools of LUT. Now, after again the organization changes, I think it was last year that you changed your position from Lutz School of Business and Management to Lutz School of Engineering and Science. We have no teams any longer in the business and management, but we have a lot of teams from engineering and science, and I'm the one that is coming from energy systems, and there are a couple more other teams that are coming from that school. And it's the concept that is not very common in the universities. Trying to make people from business field and people from technology field to cooperate. This is pretty much the corner or the point that you are located at, because your role, at least my understanding, is to try to combine the technology and the business. We try to do that also in terms of science. And it comes with a certain difficulties, but every now and then I got the feeling that, oh my God, I understand what Ilkka is saying. But it happens only like momentarily, and then it disappears again. But it seems that it's almost like I'm learning. Almost feels like that. Maybe it's learning. We'll see. But anyways, so that's the concept of platforms. The SIM platform, the one that we're coming from. The idea is to take simulator-driven design methods, like you said here, to next level. And really what we wanted to do is that we wanted to look like how is the simulation as a concept can be used in a different product processes. It's very typically used in a product development. That's where those high-end engineers are using simulation to analyze different scenarios. We have a little bit of different concept in our mind, so we would like to use it in not just in the product development, but other product processes as well. That's where digital twin comes into play. Well, that's a little bit about the background. Well, this all what we're doing is related to this, this picture that I'm sure you are familiar with. How is Industry 4.0 and how is a trend towards cyber physical systems. And that's exactly what we're doing with help of multi-body system dynamics. That is our tool set to look at how is a cyber physical systems, as it is a tool to predict what happens in reality. So, but I'm not going to discuss about that any further because this picture is quite a bit used. Okay, but what about the digital twin then? How is that we can, if make the presentation in a very conventional, boring way, you always start. Let's get started from the definition. And this is what will makes people to fall asleep. And then the rest, then you explain about the details and everything. And I'm following the same concept. So I'm looking at the first definition, and then we look at what we can do with the definition. Now, digital twin is a bit of the controversial issue. It's a bit unclear what means digital twin. And it becomes clearer if you look at the definition from different sources. So here are the definitions from Cogner, Siemens, General Electric, and Goldman Sachs. And each one of them are a little bit different than others. There are some aspects that are a little bit common, but the definition is not as clear. Hello. Are you moving to industrial engineering? No. Ah, so it feels. It's different.
It's really different.
Ah, bad luck for you because I guess that your idea was the SKD. So you went to industrial engineering and look what happened. I'm still here. Ah, okay. Okay, got it. All right, but today here we are looking at real-time market body stuff. So if I'm not knowing something, this is the guy that explained it. So, all right, so we look at the definition. Now, and the conclusion we can make out of this definition is that it really varies. Sometimes, there is a mention like digital representation of physical object. Sometimes people are just saying that 3D design software, 3D design software. That's not much, at least technical perspective. And then, then there's some keywords here like understand and predict. These are becoming interesting, and this is technology-wise, it's going to make a little bit of sense. Understand, predict, optimize. Okay, now it becomes, something useful in my mind. What here's a virtual representation of physical products or processes used to understand and predict. And the prediction is here mentioned quite often. Data too is mentioned quite often, and understanding too. So maybe the kind of the conclusion you can draw from those definitions is that the digital twin is something that there is a virtual representation involved, one way or another. There is an understanding of the data involved, one way or another, and there is a data involved, one way or another. And in our perspective, it's important that digital twin is something that can be applied to a wide variety of product processes. So it has to be something that you can be able to apply that in a design, which is more like product development. It could be, we should be able to apply that in manufacturing processes, sell and marketing, which we believe, by the way, that is very important area where the simulation can be applied, training, operation, service business. All those are important in terms of digital twin. Okay. How is, by the way, the audio system here? So there is a loudspeaker. So let's take a look like, video related to, oh, this is way too loud. How can I tune it down? Oh, that was scary. Oh yeah, 100%. Okay, let's see. This will do it. Better.
Manufacturing machines can be a complex and costly process. Assembling the first prototype from parts that haven't been developed or tested together will often cause problems, and getting everything to function properly may require significant amounts of materials and effort. Nobody wants to be known as the manufacturer of poor and unreliable machinery, so wouldn't it be great if you could build your first prototype, secure in the knowledge that it already has hours of thorough testing behind it? Well then, may we introduce you to Mavea. Mavea combines all plans for your machine into a single virtual model called Digital Twin. This includes all the components necessary to build your machine, such as the interface to the wheel control system. The digital twin that is created is a virtual physics-based representation of your machine, capable of simulating its behavior and use in real time. The Mavea software simulates real-life physics, so the machine can be tested in different environments and on the actual tasks that it's designed for. You will be able to detect potential problems before anything is even built. The digital twin can be inspected and modified when necessary, and stakeholders can also get involved in the development process at an earlier stage. The rapid development iterations that the digital twin enables will result in fewer prototypes, reduced costs, and faster lead times. Moreover, Mavea's solutions allow operators to use the simulation for training, which means they will be qualified to use the machine before it even exists. The digital twin lives and evolves throughout the life cycle of the product. Once connected, the digital twin can analyze the machine's use and behavior in the field and provide vital feedback. This data can also be used to develop the product software, you can develop even the most intelligent and complex machines with ease and change the way you engineer and operate your products. Read more about Movea Digital Twin on our website.
Okay, so digital twin in a nutshell. By the way, one thing that I did not explain in the very beginning is what is the role of this Nevada, the one that mentioned here a number of times. Nevada is a university spin-off. So it's a company which is specialized in real-time simulation. And they are looking the ways how they could use a digital twin and more importantly real-time as try to make a business out of it. And so it's been out there already more than I believe more than 12 years. So it's not the recent spin-off, but it's been there quite a while. And we are cooperating extensively with the Meta, and most often, the developments related to technology are made here in the university, and then we are hoping that Meta will do the implementation, and often they do, and it helps us to develop our tools as well. We do have a separate tools at here in the university, but it's a typical product of university research. It is extremely difficult to use, and all these, these user-friendly aspects are non-existent. Okay, but that's what the Meta is. So you did it here, so we set the rules that we don't communicate. Oh, no, that was a joke. Yes. What it means. Yeah. Okay. So the real time. What is a real time? Maybe I can explain it here in this case. The simulation model is essentially a set of equations. So it's a different kind of differential and algebraic equations. And we can solve this equation using the time integration techniques, which allows us to see how it performs, how is its dynamic response. Now, this solving process is possible to synchronize to running time, real time, meaning that all the operations that are needed to do the computing will be carried out within the certain time period, and that's less than a real time. Usually you do all the computing, then you stop, and then you wait until the time hits to you. Then you do all the reading, so you read in the information, inputs, sensor data, whatever you want from outside sources. It could come from the user itself, or it can come from hardware in the loop or whatever. You read the signal, you modify your equation, and then you go again. So that's what is a real time. So it's synchronized with running time. We're real time. You got it? Yeah. Now, what is interesting is that often, even when there is a complicated real-time model, is that you could do the computing quite much faster than the real time. And often there is quite a bit of idle time, so just the waiting time. So we're waiting that the time will hit for us, and then we will proceed. And what if you don't wait? What if you just keep on computing? You are proceeding in a time. So what that means? What is a physical interpretation of that? We believe that this is a physical interpretation of being able to predict what happens in the future. Because if we're running much faster than in real time, we see that this would be the consequences. This is what's going to happen. So we see ahead of time that we have some risky scenarios coming soon, so we can even avoid that. That's one of the interesting things we're doing right now. And not just that running a little bit faster than a real time, but we can run things say 1,000 times faster than a real time. And then we can have different motion scenarios, say tens of different motion scenarios, and each one of them are projected in the future. And we can see what happens in the future, and then with help of artificial intelligence, we can select the most desirable. So we believe that this is machine awareness. Do you remember the greatest movie ever, Terminator? What happened is in a Terminator, there was a certain date when the machine or the computer got awareness. We believe this is what makes machine to have awareness. Not really great awareness, but understanding about the physical consequences. We'll get back to that a little later today. So that is predictive, the capability to predict have a kind of awareness. Okay. What is this? This is like there's like almost like a friendly environment. Almost. Okay, but so let's go back. Let's go back to communication mode. Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Makes sense so far. But none of this stuff makes sense, or you don't care. Which one? No, well, no need to vote. No need to vote. Okay. Now let's step into the details a bit. So, what is the ingredients that must be in place when you're running physics-based real-time simulation models? Let's say that you have an excavator or this kind of other machine. You want to solve like how is their dynamic responses? How is that they behave in real life? Well, ingredients you need in order to solve that is equations that describe the mechanics. But that's very traditional. And I mean, it's possible that some of you have already got the knowledge like how to solve the dynamics of mechanical structure. What are the courses that they force you to take from the field of technology? Are they forcing you to take like mechanics course or no? Oh, it depends on the minor. Okay. Yeah. So if you take the mechanical engineering, then it's highly likely, I believe, that you must learn a bit of like how is the mechanics, like what are the equations behind, like how is that system behaves. But essentially, it's just I would say that is a Newton's second law, which is external applied force is equal than mass multiplied by acceleration, which mass multiplied by acceleration is inertial forces. External applied forces, inertial forces must be equal. Roughly, that's how it is. Of course, it's a bit more complicated than that when you do the real simulation, but idea is still the same. The now important thing is that the models associated to mechanical component must be combined with the actuator models. There can be many different means of actuation. Often is hydraulics, but could be pneumatics, water hydraulics, electric drives, you name it. It's important that you have a representation of actuators together with the mechanical component. And then the control system, which really is very important in terms of dynamic performance. By the way, the term mechatronic, which I'm sure you heard that. Mechatronic, meaning that this machine consists of mechanical components and electronics. Now, if you make a list of machines without electronics, the list is quite short. Is hammer. Okay, what else? Chainsaw already have it, so hammer is in the list. But what else? Not many other machines. So it's very limited. Pretty much every machine in what is a market today consists of electronics. So that's why that component too is involved. So the working process really depends on your application. We're going to take a look at a few examples in the user. User often makes a major role in terms of dynamic performance. Here's an example. In my family, we have one car. When I'm driving that car, it is really wild. It's like rally. It's like acceleration, deceleration, left and right. It's like violent stuff. Same car, but driver is different. My wife, very smooth, very pleasant. So what is this? Why is possible that it's so different? Behavior is so different. That's simply because of the user. And user is something that is very difficult to predict. There are attempts to try to predict how the human behaves. That's extremely difficult. And the easiest way to do it is just to get people involved. That's possible with real-time simulation. As we can read the signal from the user, and that's how the thing goes. Okay, so here are the few examples. So this is pretty much the same kind of model that you can see in a SimStudio. So this is an excavator with deformable crown. So the deformable crown is the environment model. Mechanical structure is the one in the yellow in the color. Then actuators are hydraulic actuators. Electric components are the ones that are involved in the machine model itself. So this is how it looks. So it is pretty much as accurate you can think that it is. There's, of course, there's always a little bit of discussion like, how accurate is this really accurate representation of reality? I will get back to that after a few slides. But there's a deformable ground, the real joysticks. Television is not as great as goggles, but it's still better than nothing. And the behavior of the ground is somewhat realistic. Okay, so that's an example about real-time model. This is the Unity environment. Unity, by the way, I need to ask, like, you guys like games? Yes. Yes, some extent. Okay, what is the game you like? I don't say like NHL or something, but the real good war games. What are the games you play? Okay, don't say that. Don't say that. Let's keep it that offline. Because I'm recording this. This could be something that you never can get out of the internet. Oh, please. What others? What are the games you play? Oh, here's my gun. So here's my gun. Typically, there are like two platforms that I use to build the games. There's Unity that is often used, and this example is based on the Unity visualization engine itself. It is still based on our equation, our multi-body approach. And another one is Unreal Engine. It's equally great, visualization-wise. We don't like to use the engine because they are not, in our perspective, physics-based engine. And you can tell that if you play a rally game or similar kind of physics-based game, you can see that sometimes they cut the corners a bit, and sometimes the behavior is not realistic. We want to have the realistic behavior. So here's an example about Unity. This is a real environment available. I don't know where it is available, but it looks like it's like a cave. Difference between this and the cave is that the excavator itself, it is based on these accurate equations. Environment is what it is. Here's the same excavator with deformable crown. Another one. This is Unreal Engine. God damn it, Ilya. So Ilya will always put his name, and the music is super annoying, but don't focus on that. Focus on the visualization. This is when you tune the model, and then you run it. Ilya, please. Now you're running the model. So this is how the environment looks like. Okay, the music is so annoying that I must stop that. Sorry about that. But when you look at that from the Oculus goggles, it's actually great. Like is a Unity as well. So it's highly realistic, and it's like pretty much all the good games. This is an example. I mentioned that sometimes I heard this story that the real time waste of time, real time equal and waste of time. This is based on the claim that real-time models are not accurate representation of reality. This is, well, hard to argue against that in any other way than just compare how is a result against real measurements. And here's an example where there's an excavator, which is extremely difficult case to simulate as the ground model is very, very challenging. The mechanical structures are somewhat challenging. The hydraulics includes a lot of details. And here's an example how the simulation and representation and scale along. And you can see that is not the same, but it's a very accurate representation of reality. So you can actually kind of get the good idea how the machine behaves by using the real-time simulation. Okay, so let's go to product processes as half of the time is covered. But just explaining the background. But that's your fault because you asked the question. Okay, any other questions? Confused? No? Clear? Good. Then product processes. I have a few examples related to different product processes. So I want to get started with the product development. I mean, this is something that we, as in, my background is heavily in product development. And I wanted to look at that in the beginning and see like what is possible, the ways that we can use the real-time simulation and digital twin, the accurate representation of reality in this part. And then we can look a little bit about the marketing, service business, the fault diagnosis, and the new business opportunities, and then maybe a little bit about in-house communication and other matters related to this. But let's get started from the product development. So, as what became clear from the slides, well, a few slides ahead, before there was this picture about this different component, mechanical actuators, control system, and user. So we kind of have a means to understand or get the user as a part of the simulation. And now if we have accurate representation of reality, we can actually get people heavily involved, not just the machine itself, but more importantly, product development. And this is something that we believe that opens a big opportunity. It's possible to make the customer feedback, or get the customer feedback in a very precise form. Really, I hate this, or I love this. I want to get this kind of product. And this is exactly what happens in the reality right now. I will get back to the example where the Finnish companies are using this as a technology to convince their customers to go ahead in a project. So this is the first kind of the case that I would like to explain. In an engineering perspective, life is becoming difficult. And life is becoming difficult because right now there is a new factor that is becoming increasingly important. That is a user experience. We as an engineer, I consider you also as an engineer, we don't like this stuff because we would like to speak about, the newtons, this kind of like masses, this kind of quantities that make sense. Acceleration and other stuff, horsepower. This is a kind of the quantity that makes sense. But now the people, they don't care about this that much any longer. The example that may not be the great example, but still something in that perspective is that, the electronics, the mobile phones. Now, in the mobile phones, no one cares about who is a CPU or the battery technology, even though that I'm sure in somewhere even in Apple page, you can find the technical specs. No one cares. Why they don't care? Because they are after the expected user experience. So they wanted to get the outstanding user experience. They don't care about whatever CPU unit is used or whatever detail is inside of the technical spec. Irrelevant. The little bit of same kind of problem or same kind of trend goes to other products. Like if you read the magazines that are evaluating different passenger cars, there are statements like, this feels great, this feels solid, this feels quality. Feels great. What the heck is that? Like what that means in engineering numbers. So what is a horsepower? What kind of suspension settings? Tell me that. People are unable to express their desire using the engineering language, but they express their desire based on their feelings. And we should find out the way that we can make an interpretation of their statements. This feels solid, this feels, I don't know, this and that. And this is difficult. And this is where the real-time simulation comes into play. And it's possible that you can actually make a different kind of setup. You're asking people to come over and try it. And then you ask, do you like this or do you hate this? And this is the way how you can use this in a product development. Now, let's look at the product development as kind of we understand that in a department of mechanical engineering. You know, here is in this picture, the customer is in a right hand side of the picture, and then there's a product development. And we kind of understand that the purpose of the product development is to try to please the customers as much as they can. So make the product that the customer really wants to have. So how you can make that happen? Well, you can make it happen by setting up these interviews and making them to answer these forums and questionnaires and try to make an interpretation based on that. It's very difficult to see like what kind of technical specs they're actually looking at. So it's very hard to customers to express their feelings using the same language than the product development team. Now, what is the product development team then doing? Well, they're using these digital tools that are finite assembly method, multi-body system dynamics, other kind of very complicated forms in order to speed up the product development process. And that's what they do. Excuse me, they're very good at that. But the problem is, are you doing something that is actually pleasing the customers or not? This is really a fundamental question. So sometimes I'm kind of making an extreme statement that digital tools here are helping us to make wrong decisions fast. What about if we kind of convert this picture a bit? So we're going to take these digital tools here, we're going to pull the bridge between the product development and customers using the product, these digital tools. Of course, you cannot allow the customers to use some complicated tools like finite assembly method because they may not understand what the strains and stresses, what they stand for. They don't have this technology. They understand that kind of understanding that they can make this call. But we could take a real-time simulation model because it is a representation of a real machine. So if you know how to try the excavator, you can try the model, real-time simulation model of the excavator. And then we can make a modification. So we can change the, say, put the different kind of hydraulics. Like example could be that right now, the one thing that is quite much becoming popular in the field of hydraulics is a digital hydraulics. But what are the benefits of digital hydraulics? Is it increasing the productivity or making the fuel consumption to be lower? What is that? What's the deal? What's the big deal? That is difficult to explain to customers and convince them to go to digital hydraulics. But the real-time simulation model can make it happen. You can try it to see, oh yeah, this actually seems to make sense. Or you can measure the fuel consumption or productivity and see, okay, yeah, actually, my productivity goes higher with this new setup. So I want to get it. So, you can make the, this computation like how fast you can get your money back. So then another way around, the customers, they can also in a certain level, with certain limitations, they can modify the models. So they can tune it and they can actually see, okay, I don't like this system, but I want to use this system. And the product development team then can monitor what are the changes that the customers are doing. And this is what we call is a gamification. So here's an example about the gamification. This, by the way, was available in SimStudio. I don't think it is available any longer. But this was a simple game about the excavator. So these are the gamification aspects. So there is a visual graphics. The goal was to develop this industrial hopper, and then the time was measured. Generally, the collision were measured as well. Obstacles were there. Some indicators. What is it? You can actually make this perform better. And the user will allow to tune the model a bit, different hydraulics, different pockets, and then you just go and test this by wearing from that place. The models are right now a bit different that are shown here. So now they're this animation, there were two different machines. By the way, these guys have absolutely no understanding how to use this machine, but that's all right. Now, this other guy is using the truck, another one is using the excavator. The idea is this gamification concept. Okay, let's discuss. Any thoughts? Yeah, again. No, not possible. So, others, what are you saying? Are you gonna buy this game? No. Yes. No. Don't know. Confused.
How is it different from virtual reality games? I played them before. They're more fun, definitely, than this one. So, is it just
No. Yeah. That is a problem because where are the naked ladies? Where are the explosions? Non-existent. Or naked males. Sorry about that.
the whole digital twin thing is just part of virtual reality? Because those really seem very real when you're playing them. Sometimes you start screaming.
Yeah.
The thing is, we're just using virtual reality to see, to help us design or conceptualize the product.
That's basically what it is. That's what it is. And we wanted to tune the engine a bit to make it more realistic. So now you say that you've got scared every now and then. So we want you to be scared all the time. So make it feel like using the real machine, but using the same concept and using the gamification exactly like it is used. And just that that try to make this a bit more entertaining. But that's pretty much the concept.
I have another question about
Sure.
the stages in product development that the customer is needed for its involvement, his or her involvement. Is it the conceptualization, the testing, the validation of the product? At which stage do you need to see how people are using this product?
Well, that's we believe that this the main it's mainly used in a product development, but it could be used in other product processes as well. We think that here of course in a marketing, the user training is the part where you could obviously you can use it because user training often is quite complicated, time consuming, costly perhaps. So this is where you can use these models, learn how to use the machine itself, but we believe that it can be used in a product showcasing as well, because, as a sales engineer, sometimes it may be a bit difficult to express like how is a machine itself, or what are the special features that you can get as a extra with extra cost. So, again, cars is a good example. What at the moment is available is a website that you can log in and you can select the car you like the most. So you go to the Mercedes website, you select S-Class, you select the color, you select the interior, you select the engine. Once you're done, the price will come to your screen. I'd like to try how is the car. So now this is a means that you can do all these settings and then you go and try how it feels. And if it is this is really the product you wanted to do. This, by the way, is something that the Valtra that is a manufacturer of these agricultural tractors. They would like to use that in marketing purposes exactly this way, because typically these are the products that are purchased by individuals, farmers. The farmers often they look into ways to save the money. The way they can save the money is that they can get the smallest possible engine without understanding the consequences. And the consequences could be that once you're actually operating your tractor with the trailer, you're very slow and it's very inconvenient. And then they call back to Walter and say, your product sucks big time because it don't have enough power. And then they try to explain, but this is what you want. But that's not going to help because they're already upset because it's not fulfilling their dreams. So this is how you can use it as well. Oh, no. And then, here in the product development, the example that I forget to mention is Sunweek. This is what they say. I'm not sure if this is 100% sure, but they say that every single product, if they started a new project, they will first create the real-time simulation model. Then they will ask customer to come over, test it, and if they are completely satisfied about their experience, then they will sign, okay, let's go ahead in the project. If they don't like it, that's it, end of the project. But what was your question? Oh yeah, no worry about that. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I answered your question. Oh, yeah, good. Okay, so what about others? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
So does the concept always require machine interaction? Because I was thinking that they could be used, for example, in
Yeah. So, yeah, that is an awesome question. So, what if taking this concept to another area like construction? Okay, that's something that we have no experience, but yeah, why not? You know, this again, this gamification concept. So why not? Why not? I think I mean, good work. Good work. Not really my specialty. So why is that I'm showing these machines? That's simply because of my background, and I'm limited because of my background. I have to admit that. I never thought about it that. So can I use your over here? Okay, thanks. Yes, sir.
In all these use case examples that you present, where do you set the boundary between a simulation tool or model and a digital twin? When you start calling it virtual twin and not digital twin and not, for example, virtual reality or just simulations?
Oh, that's an awesome question, sir. Unable to answer your question because it's hard to say. It is hard to say. We kind of believe that kind of the essence of the digital twin, how we understand that is this representation of reality. And those are the, in a nutshell, those equations. Those could be embedded to machine itself. They can be used in a visualization purposes. They can be used in a many different ways. But we can kind of see that these equations that are solved in synchronized with the real time, that's if you wanted to have this physical real, I mean, digital twin, that's what it is. Others are just a decoration. But yeah, very good question. Is there even more questions? No, no, you need to, no, it's, I think that you're above your limit. So this was already what it is, fourth question or something. Because it's always like this. Why don't you guys come to my lecture and you can see like how to behave in a lecture? It's quiet all the time. And I remember, I think that it was 2010, yes, 2010, September 15, someone raised a hand and asked the question of my lecture. And now you guys. Unbelievable. Okay, here's a trigger. This is an example that I wanted to show you because this is a very old model. This is the first, this is a model that was created already more than 15 years ago. More than 15 years ago. Because quite often we got these people that are not sure the technology is good enough to take it into reality. But this is a model that is very old, more than 15 years old, and it includes all the features that are needed in order to train operators to use this big crane that takes containers from harbor to ship, from ship to harbor. So it's already available back then. And then really the most interesting thing is that real-time field, this field of real-time simulation, the first book in that field was published 1994. 1994. Well, I was about to ask, you still remember what kind of computers were used at that time? I guess you don't remember that. But let me explain. The computers were not powerful at all. They were like extremely lousy computers with practically no memory. So it was really hard to use those computers back then as a real-time simulation. Yet it was used already back then as a part of the real-time simulation. So the technology been here already quite a while. So now the new aspects that are available today is more accurate models, of course, better visualization, possibility to embed the models as a part of the machine. Okay, so what it is, I have like 10 minutes. I need 10 minutes. Good. So power diagnosis. So let me see what is this example. Okay, here's an example which says that that because we have our accurate physics-based model, we can create a library of different faults. So this is how the hydraulic circuit of this particular machine looks like. You can even use different kind of faults, like malfunction, direction valve, hose broken, or whatever. Then you can create a library of different symptoms. When you have the library of different symptoms, you can use that in such the way that whatever the signal comes from the field, from the real machine, you can compare that against the different systems. And you can automatically detect this is where the problem is located. And then you can take the right kind of spare parts with you when you go to the field, right tools, and fix the machine. And you can even see when things are start to moving in a wrong direction, So like predictive maintenance that is possible with this concept. So here are just a few rough examples. Again, the excavator, we are introducing just very violent faults. So let's see how it behaves. Okay, so I need to click it here. Here. Now everything is still alright. You can see that here you can see how the direction valves are changing because of the operation. So this signal is coming from the operator. Now then we're introducing there the hose faults. Okay, so it's becoming to behave in a really weird way. Well, this is becoming obvious that something is wrong. So, but same kind of concept could be used to create a light in your systems. Okay, now it's back in operation. And now it's dead. Okay, just an example. Okay, and this is an idea that you can now use artificial intelligence in order to do this interpretation. So you can get the signal from the field, and then with help of this automated system, you can easily detect what exactly is a problem. This is, by the way, is quite interesting that at the moment, there are people that are specialized to make an interpretation of signals that are coming from the field. It's very challenging job. So there could be a problematic situation that the customer is experiencing, and this problematic situation is recorded by a number of different sensors. And then this data package is then sent to this person, and then he's opened these windows with a lot of curves, and then he's looking at these curves and trying to think about like what went wrong, like what happens, like this is behaving this way, this is behaving this way. So what is possibly problem of this machine? Very challenging. Think about put yourself in that position that you're coming in this office in the morning and there's a lot of screens, then the small windows showing the curves. You're gonna get the migraine before the coffee break. It's difficult work. So maybe this could be optimized by using this kind of concept that you can have a library of symptoms and then you compare the signal against that. So that's just an idea. Here's an example about embedded model. This is a bicycle, as you can see that. Bicycle is a machine is quite interesting, and it is dynamically challenging. And because the way it's stable and when it becomes unstable and such, that's not that easy to define. So if you make a model of bicycle, the model consists of 3 degrees of freedom. And these degrees of freedom are steering angle, leaning angle, and the forward velocity. Those are the 3 quantities you need to know in order to predict the bicycle state. So we did the setup in such a way that those 3 quantities are measured here, and we are using them as an input to simulation model. And once they go in a simulation model, then the simulation model tells you the full state of the bicycle. So like how is steering angle and everything is actually explained there. But not just that, but also the quantities that are not directly measured but are computed based on the simulation model. And those quantities are like forces that are applying in this particular bicycle. So the idea is that we're measuring the quantities that are simple to measure. Those goes to simulation model. The model do the operation and gives something that is like more valuable than initial measurement. This is a technology that is called soft sensor technology or virtual sensor technology, and it's quite powerful because with the simple measurements you can get the full state of the entire machine, and then this is how you can actually make it more valuable. This is something that is quite interesting. One more note here is this. My friend Linus Schwab, he's actually still in a field of bicycle dynamics. I think like more than 15 years or so. And he's my colleague. And within the modified dynamics, we always like wondering how interesting is what is the limit that you can do with the bicycle dynamics? Because bicycle is a bicycle. How much you can actually make a science out of the bicycle? So he was like keeping pushing in a field. Then eventually he was looking science, bicycle dynamics. Quite unbelievable. That's amazing in my mind. So remember this. So if you're committed to something, don't really care about how large or small is the area, it can take you whatever you want. Okay, but back to the bicycle business then, because here's an example. This is the bicycle is running, so we are measuring certain quantities, and then we can plot the force. This is not the force exact, so this is still just the state of the bicycle. The visualization is really, really lousy, but the idea, that's what I hope you to understand, the virtual sensor technology. So this is kind of like embedded model part of the machine itself. And then soon I'm going to switch there, I'm going to stop the simulation, I'm going to plot out the forces that I'm imposing the bicycle. And that's when it becomes very valuable. Why? By the way, why it is becoming valuable? Because as soon as you know the forces, then you can make decisions about the maintenance and how hard the machine is being used. These are the questions you can answer. Well, the forces are involved. So it's based on this concept, so it's multi-body embedded model. So we carry out the kinematic analysis, inverse dynamics, and then we're going to get the estimation of forces. Okay, that's about bicycle example. All right, then the system level optimization in change automation. This is what I already pretty much explained to you. So we do have this opportunity to compute mass faster than in real time. And if we compute it faster than in real time, then we can see what happens in the future. Let's take an example. Now this is, we are cooperating with Aalto University, and this is kind of like this Angry Birds game. You remember the game? And now the guys are computing the future by using 1,000 times faster than real time. So they will see what are the consequences. And they see the consequences by the means of visualization. So this is what happens. So they see what going to be the consequences, and now there's an artificial intelligence that picks the most desired consequence, the most scenario. That's it. So that's what you can do. This is what we are now trying to apply in the machines, such the way that the machine can have this understanding about the consequences. Let's see. Okay, so the one thing that the equation we believe that is very important in the future is going to be this. Faster than real-time multi-body system dynamics plus artificial intelligence. This is makes it possible to predict. This is makes it possible to select, multiplied by d power 3. D power 3 stands data-driven design. Data-driven design, which is a kind of like possible scenario in the future, meaning that these equations that we like so much are no longer used, but we are just producing the data based on the equations. The data then will be using, we can use data mining tools to see the different relations. How data-driven design comes here will be related to enforced learning. So we're going to use enforced learning to have a better understanding of how the machine is supposed to work. And then this is how we can do the prediction and selection. So can you ask that in a written example? So the question is this. Divide this equation starting from the big down. Can you do it? Okay. All right. So this is where the enforced learning was used. Again, this is our collaborator from Aalto University. So let's look at that. So the first there is this just a predictive simulation and capability to select, which will be based on just the tree search algorithm. And now you can see like how is it walking. Walking is I think that this is between 2 and 3 from. I mean, this guy is seriously from. And now because of the enforced learning, the walking becomes better and better, and not that much reason anymore. This looks already somewhat good. Oh, by the way, these are the predictions. These are the different motion scenarios that goes in the future. I mean, not in the future, but kind of. This, I get the headache when I'm thinking like, what is the future and what is not, and what is here and what is now. What are the scenarios in the future? This is too much thinking to me. Okay, here's how it works, like theoretically how it goes. In-house communication, that's what I'm gonna skip, so I don't wanna explain about that too much. It's a bit of the complicated topic. Conclusion is this. So, if you wanna run things in the real time, and if you wanna use a digital twin, we believe that this is a core of digital twin. So it's a representation of physics, and then the working process is kind of part of it. User may be involved, sometimes yes, sometimes not. Oh yeah, this is, I don't know how to change this link. This is that super popular YouTube channel. How to make this to be more easy to remember. This is a, is there a way to change the channel name in YouTube? Can you help me in that? Because right now this sounds like not so popular name. So okay, yeah, but please order it. Please subscribe it. These are the teams we are cooperating. So in different schools, these are the companies that are sponsoring us. And this is my final slide. Bill.
Can you go back to the slide with the YouTube channel?
Sure. You gotta subscribe it. Is there a way that you can give this guy to 5 out of 5 from this class? Here it is. You're gonna get these likes. But now this is what is annoying, because I saw that some people are capable to change this such the way it could be like Aki Nikola. Would be much better than this. Okay. All right, so that's all today. I promise an hour, and I spent, this is the last one. This, where is it now? Current rector. He's seriously lost. Even the map is no longer there, so he's just waiting the rescue team to come. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I would just support that you mentioned IoT, but it's maybe